Welcome to Fix It Home Improvement, covering projects that every homeowner should know and great products for home and garden.
Hi, I'm JC, and this is where we share weekly home improvement tips. I'm here with my co-host, Cindy.
Hello, JC.
Hi, Cindy. Today we're going to be talking about window screens. We'd like to thank Greg Johnson for liking and sharing the show. The first use of mosquito netting or bug screen was used around your bed.
Makes sense.
So like in 40 BC, Cleopatra slept under mosquito netting.
What, are you going to say she's from ancient Egypt?
From ancient Egypt.
What?
And then in 1793, there was a yellow fever outbreak in Philadelphia. Over 2,000 people died just from mosquitoes. Mm-hmm. And before the 1800s, flies and mosquitoes were a huge problem in people's homes. They caused malaria, yellow fever, encephalitis, dengue fever, just a variety of these diseases. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until the late 1800s in the U.S. where companies started producing window screens for the home. In 1900, Dr. Walter Reed put a bunch of volunteers in the same room, and he had this box of infected mosquitoes. They had yellow fever, and so he had half of the room protected with the mosquito screen, and then the other half not. So the people that got bit by these mosquitoes were infected, and so it kind of proved to everybody that window screens are a good thing because they didn't know. They thought that people would contract yellow fever and some of these diseases just from breathing the air next to somebody who was infected. So they really didn't have that association for sure. They thought it was probably true.
Did they get any compensation for that?
Yeah, I'm sure they got a free lunch. So the Rockefeller Foundation introduced screening programs for homes in southern U.S. to help control malaria and yellow fever. I spoke to Adam from the Attaboy Clarence podcast.
I was just going to say, you're going to mention where he's from. You're just going to say, hey, Adam.
And he's also from the UK.
Yeah.
And he says that they don't have screens on most of the homes in the UK.
That's crazy.
Is that wild? So in the area he's in, he says that he's never seen any window or door screen on the homes around him.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's weird.
Well, I was talking to my sister, and she lives in the middle of Wisconsin.
Right.
And she said a couple of her friends just leave their doors wide open, like their screen doors, and let their dogs run in and out.
Yeah, amazing.
It's so foreign to me.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I like everything screened and protected against bugs, fleas, bees, bats, rats. I mean, anything can come in your house. So Adam from the Attaboy Clarence podcast, really great podcast if you like old-time radio. And then he also has The Secret History of Hollywood.
It's not old-time radio, it's old-time movies.
Old-time movies, but he always plays a radio episode of one of the movies that he reviews.
Yeah. I like his podcast a lot.
Yeah, it does a nice job. If you have a hole in your window or door screen, you can create
You should fix it.
Yes, fix it with a piece of aluminum screen. Fiberglass is too soft, so you're going to need aluminum to create a patch. And that aluminum patch will work on aluminum or fiberglass screen. And
have to match the color?
Yes, yeah, that'd be a nice thing. Yeah, psychedelic. If you have a few holes or tears, most hardware stores will cut you a length of aluminum screen so you can kind of pick the size you need. Pick your matching color, and then cut a piece slightly larger than the hole that you're fixing, and on two sides of it. So let's say we're looking at a scrap that you cut. On the left and the right side, you can use a paper clip or a pen and pull off a few rows of the screening material. So you're creating these extra long pieces of wire on both sides. You're going to bend that over straight down at a 90-degree angle to create a U shape.
Right.
And now you're going to take those pieces that you bent down and you can force it through the screen so it's going straight through the screen. The main body of that patch is covering the hole. You're going to flip your screen over and then bend those strands over flat.
We did a video on this, right?
Yes. So on our Fix It Home Improvement channel on YouTube, you can see us actually doing this. But it's a very simple way to cover a hole.
Yeah, it's kind of time-consuming, though.
Yeah,
because I remember sitting there watching you do this.
Well, all those individual strands, you have to bend them over, and then you have to kind of separate them with whatever tool you're using, like a paper clip, so that you can weave it through the screen. But then, once you flip it over, you bend them down, and it really does a nice job. Very simple to repair a hole.
Or you could use a patch.
Yeah, most hardware stores are going to have pre-made patches, usually called screen patch repair kits, and they're little squares of aluminum screen. They're usually around 2 inches by 2 inches.
Right.
And you would do the same thing. You would pull off a few rows on two sides and then weave it through your screen. With a lot of these, though, I've only seen like one color. So again, depending on the color of your screen.
But what about like Screen Mend?
Screen Mend is a self-adhesive screen patch. So this you have to use a hair dryer, and it sets the glue. So you take it, you cut it to size, you put it onto the screen, and it sticks.
Right, but there's no paper clip involved.
Right. But you do need a hair dryer.
Right. Okay.
So there's your tool. And then once you heat it, it sets that glue, so it's a permanent repair patch. And those are nice because it comes in 5 inches by 7 inches.
Right.
The patch, so it's a little bit bigger. And then Coghlan's. So this is the company that does a lot of camping equipment. They have something called a self-adhesive plastic screen patch. And this is 5 inches by 6.5 inches. And there's a big picture of a tent on the package. Mm-hmm. And then Primeline. So this is one of the biggest companies for screen repair parts.
Right.
And they make a repair kit. It's self-adhesive. It's 3 inches by 3 inches.
Right.
So there's a variety. So just look at the size that you need. And if you go to the hardware store, you're going to have 2 or 3 choices. And then one other thing.
But the main thing is the color, right?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, just so it looks nice. So for fiberglass, you can actually use a fiberglass patch on fiberglass screen if you use the super glue gel.
Huh.
And this was very highly rated. People said that just using fiberglass on fiberglass and just very lightly coat the outside edges with the super glue gel, it sets up in 30 seconds. And you have a permanent patch.
You should probably wear latex gloves.
Yes, because it will fuse your skin together if you get it on your skin. If you have screens with multiple holes or tears, or if the screens are just sagging, you can replace the screen yourself. Mm-hmm. And with this, you only need one specialized tool, and it's called a spline roller.
Yeah.
And this is going to have it's going to be a handle with 1 or 2 wheels on it. If you get the spline roller with 2 wheels, and they're very inexpensive. I like that the best. One roller has a bevel to it, the other one has a groove, so that a round spline will set in there very easy. And the spline is just a gasket material that sets into a groove that holds your screen in place.
Right.
And along with that, you're going to need either clamps or tape, a slotted screwdriver to force the spline in the corners, and then a razor knife or scissors. So it's very easy for windows or doors, and it's basically the same technique. If you have a screen door or a sliding door, a lot of times you have to remove the handle. Mm-hmm. And sometimes homeowners will run into a handle with rivets on it. And all you have to do is just drill out those rivets, and you can replace that with binding posts. Mm-hmm. So at the hardware store, you can get these 2-sided, and it looks like a rivet. So it has a large head on both sides, and then it just screws together. So you can lock that handle in place. The key, though, if you're buying the binding posts, is you need to know the width to fit through the hole, and then the overall length. So you want that to be very tight. And there's a variety of sizes that you can buy. To replace the screen, the first thing you want to do is pull out the old spline. So you're going to find the end and then
So is this in the corner normally, or it could be anywhere?
It can be anywhere, but generally in the corner you're going to find the end. Sometimes you'll see a manufacturer who uses 4 separate pieces, so that there'll be multiple ends. But generally you're going to have one length that ends in a corner, and you can just pull that up, pull it out. Usually you're going to be able to reuse this if it's so...
And it's nice because it's the right size.
Yeah, the perfect size. So if it's bad, then you're going to want to bring a piece into the hardware store to get a replacement. Make sure you measure the length.
So bad like it's brittle and old.
Brittle and just falls apart. Generally it's going to pull right out in one piece. It's still going to be very supple, and you're going to be able to reuse it. You're going to pull out the old screen, and then when you purchase screen, you want it just slightly bigger than the frame itself. So you want it 1 inch or so past the edge of the frame, and you're going to hold the new screen in place with either clamps on 4 corners or tape. You don't have to pull the screen too tight, just get out the wrinkles, and then...
I think this is a common mistake most people make.
Yeah, in fact, one of the techniques is putting a brick or something heavy, a small heavy object in the center of the screen, just so it's not extra tight.
Huh.
But I always just kind of pull it so there's no wrinkles. It's just snug, not over tight. And you're
Because that's what the spline is doing. It's forcing it.
Right, and as you work around, it's going to make it really nice and snug. And so the spline you're going to put into the track, and you're going to remove one corner of the tape or a clamp, and you're going to use very short back and forth motions to start getting the spline into the track. And you're only working about an inch or two at a time. You can keep one finger just ahead of the spline so it kind of indents the screen. It lines up the screen. Once you get all the way down to a corner, then you're going to remove the tape or clamp in that corner. You're going to put the spline into the corner and work it in, but you don't have to force it in now. We'll force it in later with that screwdriver. Keep your screen smooth. You don't want to over-tighten it. If you get a wrinkle, just pull out some of the spline, smooth it out, and then start reworking it again. And once you've made your way all the way around, don't be surprised if you have excess spline, because you almost always overstretch it.
Right.
And then what you want to do is cut off the excess. So you cut off the excess of the spline, and now you're going to go back to the corners with that slotted screwdriver, being very careful so it doesn't slip off there and cut your screen, and you're going to tuck in the spline at the corners.
I would say that's important with the spline roller too, is to make sure that you're on the spline and not on the screen.
Yeah, it's tricky, and that's why I like the one with the little channel in it. So especially if you have round spline, it really holds it in place. Make sure that you're keeping it very level, straight up and down.
Right.
If you work at an angle, sometimes it can slip off.
So just take your time. Don't.
Yeah,
rush
and again, a couple inches at a time, and just work it, and you'll end up with a perfect job. Once you have all the spline in place, you've cut off the excess. Now you're going to cut the excess screen with a utility knife. I would make sure it's always a brand new knife, so it's razor sharp. You're going to cut on the outside edge of the spline so that it's not the inside where the screening is, and then cut all the way around the frame. You're going to pull off that excess. If you have a screen door, you're going to put your handle back on. And this is just an easy skill that every homeowner should have.
It's magical, JC.
If you have dogs or cats that scratch up your screens, you can get pet screen. So this is a heavy-duty screening material that's going to hold up to animals scratching at it.
Or like when I had a new kitten last spring, and he likes to climb the screen.
All the way to the top.
Yep.
He had nice trails he made. Or you can get those soft paws. Those covers for the claws,
right?
Instead of screening material.
It's kind of funny because he likes to jump at the window,
and it just slides down.
Well, yeah, he hits it and then
bounces
falls down.
Off.
Yeah.
So Pet Screen is available in black or gray. It has good visibility, but it's thicker than traditional screening, and this is made from vinyl coated polyester. And I did this at my mom's condo, so her cat had just tore up the bottom of her screens trying to get the squirrels on her patio. And so with this, you really have to work in the spline into the channels because of the thickness. So it's a little more work, so you have to be a little more aggressive. But it does an amazing job, and they can't scratch through it. Another specialty screen you can get is Solar Screen. And so this is as tough as Pet Screen.
Yeah.
And they come in different grades. So you have 60, 70, 80, and 90.
And what does it do? Are you going to explain it?
Yes.
Or are you just going to say numbers?
So those numbers, whatever that number is, that's the percentage of UV rays that are blocked.
Huh.
So, and the Solar Screen comes in a few different colors. You can get it bay, gray, brown, black.
Did you say bay?
Did I say bay?
Yeah.
Beige, gray, brown, and black. That's why I spell things. Yeah. So the Solar Screen absorbs and dissipates heat and glare, and it is a special double weave that creates shade on the windows. So it's going to also give protection from fading to furniture and carpets. You can save on your heating and cooling costs. A study done by the U.S. Department of Energy said that solar screens can reduce indoor temperatures as much as 20 degrees, depending on the location and the sun.
Interesting.
Yeah, wild, huh?
Have you ever used it?
No, I've never installed any of this. But they say it's very similar to Pet Screen in the feel of it. So most pros like the 80% Solar Screen. It has the best balance of airflow, heat block, and visibility. Where the 90% is thicker, it creates more shade. They say that like from the street, it kind of makes your windows look very dark.
You want to say the colors again, just so I can make fun of you?
So UV radiation was discovered in
Oh,
1801.
boy, I feel a tangent coming on.
And these are invisible rays just outside the violet end of the spectrum. And hospitals have been using UV lamps to sterilize surgical equipment. Overexposure to UV can damage your eyes. It causes sunburns and cancer. And bees, birds, and butterflies can see in the ultraviolet range. Isn't that wild?
Wow, the 3 Bs.
Doctors are researching ultraviolet blood irradiation, and this is removing blood from the body, exposing it to UV light, and then returning it back to the body. And they found that this kills bacteria, viruses, and it inactivates a lot of toxins. So they're working on treatments for cancer, arthritis, asthma, infections, blood poisoning, a whole list of things that they're working on with this.
So you see the titles screen and screen repair, and yet now you know about UV stuff.
Nice.
Since we've covered PET screen, solar screen, how about we get into traditional screens?
So the two most common materials are aluminum and fiberglass.
What colors do those come in?
In a lot, black, charcoal, silver.
Bay.
If you live near the coast, so if you have a salty air environment, you can use bronze, and this doesn't deteriorate from the salt in the air.
So this is the material?
Yes. It's a little more expensive, but it does an excellent job. Aluminum is very strong and long-lasting, but the problem with that is it dents very easy, and scratches will leave a permanent crease. With aluminum, it comes in black, charcoal, and silver. And aluminum is less visible from the outside, so if you're looking at your house, it just doesn't grab your eye as quickly. Fiberglass is less expensive, and it doesn't dent or crease easily, but it can fade over time. It's not as sturdy. And
little kitty cats can just claw their way
tear
right
it
through
up.
it.
Fiberglass is thicker than aluminum screen, and so it can darken from the outside. Fiberglass comes in a variety of colors. Probably the most popular is black, charcoal, and gray. And in general, the darker the color, the better outside visibility. So if you're inside your house looking out, you're going to get the best view and less glare if it's a darker color. So probably charcoal is one of the most popular colors.
This is something to consider, because if you go from like a silver aluminum screen to a fiberglass charcoal screen, it's a big difference.
Yes, and you'd want to match it. So if you're only doing specific repairs...
Or you could do every other window in a different color.
But you definitely need to take it into consideration, because you can definitely see it from the outside. For areas that have very small insects, you can get a special insect screen with a tighter mesh. And a couple of the manufacturers, they call it their no-seum insect screen. So it's NO-SEE-UM. And no-seums are a group of small biting flies, less than 1/8 of an inch long. And the females need a blood meal for their eggs to develop. So they have these dagger-like mouth parts that allow them to gash holes in your skin so they can draw blood. And some people will get welts and blisters from the anticoagulant in their saliva, and they say it's more irritating and it lasts longer than mosquito bites.
Do you know how excited you get every time we talk about an insect?
If you just want to buy a replacement screen, there's flexscreen.net, and they have replacement screens that it's a PVC-coated spring steel, and this frame bends and pops into the existing screen track, so you can use this as a permanent screen, or you can use it as a removable screen, because you can just twist it and it pops in and out.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's a nice fix. Magna screen, MAGNA, is a kit you can buy at hardware stores to cover single and sliding doors. So a single patio door or sliding doors. It has this screening that attaches with self-adhesive Velcro strips all the way around the frame, and then the center of this is split and held together with 20 magnets, so you can push your way through this screen, and then it flips together, and the magnets lock it back in place. And some people use this as a pet door.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. And then you can also buy these adjustable wood frame window screens. So this is great for sash windows. You open up the sash, you adjust this wood frame to the opening size, and then you close your window down on it. And so you've got a temporary screen. And these come in a variety of sizes to fit most single and double hung windows.
Right.
And these you can pick up at most hardware stores. Or if they don't have it, they can order it for you. If you want to build your own screens, there are a bunch of kits you can buy. So Primeline It's Primeline, and this is one of the biggest manufacturers. Most hardware stores, they buy their supplies from there. They make a variety of kits that come with the frame, the corners. They have pull tabs, tension springs, and it's all part of this kit. And then you have to purchase your screen separately, and it comes in different sizes and colors. You would use a miter box and a hacksaw to cut through this frame. And then if you're using a hacksaw on a project like this, I like using a high-tension hacksaw. And this, it has a solid frame, and it has a tensioning system that keeps the blade very tight so it doesn't flex.
Right.
So much easier to cut through material, and you can cut a wider range of materials with a high-tension hacksaw. And the top-rated high-tension hacksaws you can get are Milwaukee, Stanley, and DeWalt. If you're repairing your screens, let's say they keep popping out, they don't stay in place, you can get replacement tension springs, and there's a variety of ways that they hold in place. You have leaf springs, you have these little plungers that are held in place with springs. You have turn latches, U-clips, butterfly latches, which are very popular. And all of these you can get at the hardware store. And if they don't have it, they can generally order it for you. So you can bring the whole screen in, and they can examine it. And if they don't have the parts, they can get them for you. And you can also check with your local hardware stores. Many of these independent owners, they build and repair screens.
Right.
And, it's just an easy way to get it fixed rather than having to go buy brand new screens that match your windows.
Although it does take a while, depending on the season and how many people, all of your neighbors bringing in their screens at the same time.
Yeah, it's funny. And people get irate. What do you mean it's going to be 3 weeks before you get to ours?
Do you have anything else to add?
If you have little holes or tears in your screen, it's easy to patch with a small piece of aluminum screening. If you
Or
have
a hair dryer.
If you have badly damaged or sagging screen, just pull out the old screen and replace it. The main tool you'll probably have to buy is just that spline roller to repair it.
And the screening.
And the screen.
Did you mention they come in rolls?
So you can buy it in rolls, or depending on your hardware store, they'll sell it to you, by the length that you need. And then if you're thinking about rescreening multiple windows, you can think about solar screen. It's going to help with your cooling costs and protect you from the UV rays.
Right. Let's wrap this up.
You can download our book, Home Improvement Solutions, What Every Homeowner Should Know, on Amazon.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a 5-star rating and review.
You can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or the Spotify mobile app.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a review.
You can email us at fixitpodcast@gmail.com, or you can talk to Cindy on Twitter @fixitcohost.
And what else?
You can see our home improvement videos on our YouTube channel at Fix It Home Improvement on YouTube. I like nail this stuff at the end, don't I?
Yeah, it's the same. It's supposed to be the same thing every time.
But that's the beauty of it. We don't pre-record anything.
Ugh.
So if you actually listen to the end of this, it's
a
different every time.
Different nonsense every time. So you could subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Thanks for listening.
Jeez. I don't want to save this. It's terrible.
Talk to you next week.